There we go. 0.45. Hey everybody, welcome back. Another WV Guns and Goats video. Got a question for all y'all out there watching. Do you remember paintball and how popular it was in the late 90s and early 2000s? If you played paintball in that era, you probably remember some of the really fast firing paintball guns such as the Angel or the old shoebox shocker guns. And the way they got such a high rate of fire was they were using an electromechanical trigger system that used a solenoid and a very light trigger to fire over 10 balls per second. Now what we're taking a look at tonight is kind of that same system brought to the AR-15. This is the Digi-Trigger electromechanical hybrid trigger system. Now I've already taken a look at this on the tabletop. If you want a closer look at it, I'll have that video linked in the description below. But in this video, I'll give you a quick overview. I'm going to answer some of the questions I have seen in comments about this system here, and I'll show you some of the safeties that this system has built into it. We're going to shoot it some, and we'll shoot it on a timer to see just how fast you can shoot with the Digi-Trigger system. Now before we get started, how about you go ahead and headbutt that subscribe button. So you might hear digital trigger or electromechanical trigger system and think that's something that Digi-Trigger just came up with. But Digi-Trigger has been in business for about 10 years and they came up with the one for the AR-15. However, companies like Pardini have been using them on their target semi-auto pistols since around 2008. And then you had the aforementioned paintball guns back in the late 90s. Early 2000s. Another thing that people think is that an electronic trigger system is something that the ATF won't allow you to do. But if you go to Digi-Trigger's website, they have the information addressing some of the ATF letters about a digital trigger system. And Digi-Trigger was nice enough to send this trigger system to us so I could show it to you in this video. So a big thanks to those guys. Now let's go over the system itself, talk about some of its benefits, and then we'll get to shooting it. So you're going to get a flat trigger and you're going to get an extended safety. And you also have the Digi-Trigger unit itself. And they are a full lifetime warranty. They are still covering some of their very first units when it comes to warranty. So you're going to be covered by them there. Now, this being an electromechanical trigger system, it's not completely digital. Even though it does require a battery, you only need the battery to have the benefits of the hybrid trigger system here. In safe and semi-auto, you still have full mechanical control of this rifle, and I'll show you in this video. We're going to take the battery out of this and prove to you that having a dead battery won't affect your shooting. It's only when you're in the third position here that the digital trigger system turns on and is ready to use. In fact, if you store this with it in the third position, you're going to come back to a dead battery. That's also one of their safety features that they have in this, so you're not surprised by a super light trigger pull if you left it in the third position and picked the rifle up. So just remember, put it on safe or semi when you're done using it for the day. Now inside this grip is the solenoid unit and the switches and everything, and also a 9-volt battery. And you can find a 9-volt battery in pretty much every house if you know where to look. So just your standard 9-volt, and you can see there's nothing that needs to be attached to the battery itself. It's not like the old 9-volt toys where you had to attach a cap to the battery and then put it inside of your toy or inside the grip in this case. And this battery cap does not allow you to put it on there upside down. It just won't tighten down. So you just have to flip your battery around. When it comes to battery life on this, you get about 1,000 to 1,500 shots out of the Digi-Trigger with a plain alkaline battery. Now I believe they have a lithium battery that about doubles the round count that you can shoot with the Digi-Trigger system. That seems a pretty long life for an alkaline battery. That's a case and a half of ammunition. Now another thing, because the system is digital, you have the ability to have multiple trigger modes. This has a pull only mode, and this is on the pull only right here. Rifle is unloaded, of course. Very light trigger pull on here. I'll talk about that here in a moment. And at the flip of a switch, we have a binary trigger system. So you could put a good bit of rounds downrange when you want to go fast, or you can make precise shots when you want to go slow and shoot small groups. The trigger pull on this, they say it's a 1-pound trigger pull, but honestly, it feels a lot like a mouse click. And even the full mechanical trigger pull on this feels very nice, improved over a standard AR-15 trigger. Now, because the trigger is so light in this system, they've added a grip safety right here. So when you grip it, you automatically take the grip safety off. And that grip safety, besides preventing an accidental discharge because of a light trigger, also allows you to cancel a release trigger in the binary mode if you need to, say something happens downrange, something runs across the range while you're shooting in binary. I'll show you how to cancel a second binary shot when we get to shooting here in a little bit. Now, the benefits of this system, besides having 2 triggers in one without having to change anything out at all, in the lower you go from a super light match trigger to a super fast binary trigger with that same light trigger pull at the flip of the switch. The other thing is guys want a super light trigger for precision work. And the reason that is because with a traditional trigger, you're still moving 2 mechanical surfaces against each other. And in that time when you're trying to break that shot, you could induce movement into the rifle, which would cause your group to possibly open up downrange. You're disconnected from that in this system because the solenoid is actually breaking the shot each time. And to me, that seems that the solenoid is going to give a more consistent break to every shot. However, when you are shooting for precision, this trigger does take a little bit of different technique to shoot it for precision because of how light it is. And as I already said, then when you're ready to go fast, you can go fast with it. So I think that pretty much covers everything on the features on the Digi-Trigger system. One of the things about this system, though, it is a little bit involved installing it. You can buy these as a completed lower or a completed firearm from Digi-Trigger, but if you do buy one, you can send your own lower in to them and they'll install it on there. And they have tested it on some rifles that use AR-15 fire control groups, but aren't necessarily AR-15s. I have seen these on AR-9s, and MPXs is just an example that Digi-Trigger has tried them on. So let's go ahead, shoot some rounds off with the Digi-Trigger system, show you how fast you could shoot the standard pull-only mode. All right, so let's say we were shooting and our battery died. Now, if you're shooting in binary mode, you'll start to notice your battery getting low. It won't start releasing the second shot if the battery is low. But we just take our battery out here, place it on the table, flip to our traditional semi-auto position, and we can still shoot our AR-15 without the battery in it. All we have to do is change to a new battery, put it in like so, tighten the tail cap, flip back to the 3rd position, and we can shoot digitally like that. Now let's go ahead and shift into our binary mode in digital trigger mode, and you kind of have to build a little bit of a rhythm when you're shooting binary to get the most speed out of it. Like that. Ooh, a little bit gassy though. So that was the binary with the Digi-Trigger. Guys, we got a visitor down there at 100 yards. West Virginia own Mothman has come to see us here on the range. Let's take a few shots at him. So this footage is me getting used to shooting the Digi-Trigger. I slowed down a little bit on that one. Oh, that was fast. And like any standard trigger, you gotta get used to it. There we go. We're gonna be shooting 3 rounds at a time per magazine on a timer. .62, .87, .59. 0.59 again. Ah. 0.78. All right, we got an alkaline Rayovac battery in the Digi-Trigger. Let's see what kind of times it gives us. .52. 0.51. 0.54. 0.50. 0.49. Now we're in binary mode, 4 rounds in the magazine on a timer. .68. 0.49 for 4 rounds. 0.59. 0.48. 0.59. 0.54. 0.51. 0.48. 0.45. 0.47. So how about them numbers on the timer with the Digi-Trigger versus the mechanical trigger that we shot first? Got our baseline numbers, and then we saw how it improved with the Digi-Trigger here. If you're someone who can already shoot a mechanical trigger pretty quick, you're going to go real fast with this system here. And you can go even faster at the flip of a switch on the grip, get into that binary mode. You got that pull and release, flip it back when you want to do your precision work. Now, keeping that in mind, this system is not cheap, but it's like 2 triggers in one system. And you can price it out against buying a really nice match trigger and a binary trigger. The price becomes more reasonable. Plus, then you have to have 2 lowers or swap them out every time. You can't just flip a switch on those. Now, the Franklin binaries, they do have a fairly nice trigger, but it's not as nice as the match trigger in this. And speaking of match and accuracy, today's video was just for speed. I wanted to see how fast we could shoot this. I didn't bring any targets out, just brought out the timer to see how it did. And we are going to have a video in the future where we take a precision upper, put it on this lower, and see how it does at distance, because I believe there's a good potential for accuracy with this system here. Once you get used to it, because just like any other mechanical trigger, when you change it out, you got to get used to it. You got to live fire it, dry fire it, play around with it, and make sure you know how it feels, how it breaks, and all that. When this is in the hybrid mode, it feels different than any other mechanical trigger because, well, it's not really mechanical at that point, it's electromechanical. And the biggest differences on this system are there's no wall to it. If you're someone who likes to stage against the wall and then squeeze to break the shot, you can't do that on this system because there's no wall to it. The other thing is, if you're familiar with how these FRT triggers are popular now, when I'm shooting this in the hybrid mode, it doesn't feel like it resets your finger like a mechanical trigger does. Because the FRTs, they force your finger forwards. A regular mechanical trigger, you can kind of feel your finger being pushed forwards to the wall when you're shooting it. On this, I had a little bit of hesitation sometimes when I was shooting for speed because it doesn't feel like it's nudging my finger forward like a traditional mechanical trigger does. Let me show you what I was having happen here. So you heard that hesitation. And that hesitation would happen when I was shooting because sometimes I was able to pin the trigger all the way back because it's not giving me that forward nudge to my finger where my mind goes, oh yeah, I need to reset the shot and pull it again. This I had to really think about resetting and pulling it. but that's part of the learning process. And when I got the rhythm down that this system likes, let's see if I can do it right here. I was able to go really fast, and you saw that on the timer when we put up those really quick shot strings. Another thing is we shot this with both alkaline batteries and lithium batteries. Now, the alkaline batteries are cheaper, they're easier to get, but with this being an expensive premium system for your AR, I think you should go with the lithium batteries. They're a little bit more expensive, but they last longer between needing to be changed. It seems like the lithium batteries have almost double the life as the alkaline batteries do in this system. And the other thing is, if you ask anyone who used to have a AA powered EOTech and left batteries in it, and then they corroded and then the sight wouldn't work until they replaced the contacts in it, that's the problem with alkalines. They can leak. Lithium batteries do not leak. So they're not going to damage your Digi-Trigger. They're not going to damage your high-end electronics if you use them in there. So I would definitely spend the extra to get the lithium batteries. However, when it came to the timer portion, the alkalines and the lithiums were pretty much neck and neck. Just don't use a alkaline 9-volt that you found in the kitchen junk drawer. It just may not last as long as you think it will. So everybody, if you have any comments or questions, please leave them down below. I read them all. I'll try to respond to them, try to answer any questions that you might have about the Digi-Trigger system. And as always, everybody, if you're not out there having fun shooting, well, what are you doing?